in. Very, very excited to be doing this interview with Yeimy. Yeimy, I wanted to say thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know how busy your schedule is and your daughter's birthday yesterday, so it means a lot to me taking out this time for us to do this interview. So I'm going to do just a brief introduction. So Yeimy, I've had the pleasure of working with you for 3 years, not for the whole 3 years, kind of on and off. But we did meet, we definitely met in the height of the pandemic, and just watching you show up as a leader, as a mother, as a wife, and the way you had to pivot and adapt through all the things that life was throwing at you. I learned so much from you. Definitely learned a lot about what it means to be a leader, because I think a lot of people are put in a leadership role, but watching you as a leader really made me realize how much you have to care and how much work goes into it. So I'm excited for you to share your story, and I'll let you do your own introduction.
Yes, well, I'm excited to be here. I am Yeimy Garcia Smith, and like Chinazam said, we've been working together on and off for the last 3 years, and I have grown so very much during these 3 years. So I'm excited to share a little bit more about the journey.
Okay. So Yeimy, first question I'm going to ask is, what was it that you were looking to solve when you came to coaching with me?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So you mentioned it was the height of the pandemic, and I was working full time at home, raising 2 children, schooling them, both of them. I say him because my son was only in 2nd grade at that point, so it needed a lot of help. I was having a really hard time figuring out how to step out of working or step out of schooling, and really was on the verge of burning out. So that was really the trigger that helped me decide that I just needed some help, and helped me get through my day a little bit better. So there was a trigger to it. I wouldn't say that that's necessarily why I continued it, because once that was fixed, I definitely found opportunity in the entire journey.
Yeah, I definitely remember well-being was a big part. And Yeimy, you're a leader at Google, and I remember also being a leader at Google while also trying to homeschool at the same time. It was it was definitely eye-opening. So the next question I was going to ask you is so what was a highlight for you and the impact that you got from the coaching?
Yes, I think that one of the things that you do really well is help me really have this mindful setting into our coaching, to help me really calm down in the moments that I need to figure out what it is that I need to do or what is the next path that I need to take. So I really, really appreciate that mindful approach that you take. And it is a combination of simple things like breathing, but it's also things like visualizing some of the things that I need to do for myself. So some of the most memorable things are things like sometimes I come into a session with you and I'm really worked up, and you say, all right, slow down a second. Let's take a deep breath. Yeah. Let's go through this mindful exercise before we really start to talk about what is going on with you. The other thing that stands out, there's a couple of things that you've shared along the way that have really stuck with me. One of them, I was getting ready for this big presentation. It was going to be in a marketing release, and I was getting really nervous about it, and my heart was really raising every time I thought about it. And you helped me realize that when my heart races, it actually means that I am ready. It does not mean that I am not ready. I'm a runner, so you helped me visualize myself at the start of the race, right? I've trained really hard for this. It's time to take off. Your heart is racing. You're excited. So I think about that every day. I get nervous and my heart races. And then there's one other real exercise that really stuck with me. I was in the midst of choosing 2 different paths at a point in my career, and you actually had me go through this exercise where I got into 2 very different horses, and we visualized me riding these horses and how it felt to take a horse in one path versus the other. And I'm a very visual person, so it's starting to really feel what that experience was going to feel like as I was writing it really went a long way. So I just really appreciate that about you, because there's a bit of humor when we think back about it, but these are the things that are very memorable.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Jamie. I actually forgot about the horse, and I do remember when I was doing it where I was thinking I had to like get you to, I needed to tap into your wisdom, and I was like, okay, I need to do a visualization, and I found metaphors really helped. So I'm so glad that you went along with me, because actually what came out from that session was really amazing. And you actually reminded me about, when it comes to presentation, the way you interpret the butterflies. It actually something that from working with you helped me realize that as you're about to come to your performance arena, that those butterflies are good. So you shouldn't actually try and get rid of them. You should use them and harness them. Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing that. Last question I want to ask you now. So if there was someone who was kind of sitting on the fence and they're not 100% sure whether coaching was for them, what would you say to them?
Yes. So while I started this journey because I had a trigger, the reason I continued the journey and I'm still here 3 years later, it's because you will find things like, what are your superpowers? What are your values? How do you make decisions to continue to be balanced in your everyday life? And I think it's easy to write things down and put them in a notebook somewhere or in a post-it note. But every time I have a session with you, I am reminded how important it is to think about these things, like how these tools help me with every decision that I make. So if you're thinking about this, it's helped me in so many ways. I mean, I can probably name 10 different ways from, burnout, imposter syndrome, to balance. And so just don't think about it, just do it, because it will really be life changing. And I will say too, I tried a couple of different coaches before, and even throughout my journey for like different types of things, like how to present better, etc. But what I found is that you really need a connection. You really need something that is that matches you. And for me, that was that more spiritual, well-being type of setting. So I think it's therapeutic, and everybody should give it a try.
Thank you so much for that, Jamie. I mean, one thing I was just remembering was you were the first person that actually made me comfortable trying the 3 breaths. And I remember, like, at the beginning, I hadn't really tried it with anyone, but I always used it with you because I was like, there was a way to tap into your inner wisdom, and you always took it on board. And I've learned so much from working with you. So I'm so grateful for you giving us this time and sharing with us. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And I will say one last really good one. And I don't know if this one came from you or from your wife, but there was one other visualization or actual like move that you had me make. Is like every time I'm thinking about working out, just take my yoga mat out and get on it, and then see what happens. And it is amazing, like how much it makes a difference to just take something out, whether it's the yoga mat or the bike, and like get on the bike, and how much you will actually do. So that's one other of the million great advices that you've given me along the journey.
That brilliant one came from my wife. I'll definitely, I'll
Well,
give it
thank you
credit.
to your wife. And I'm glad that you're sharing those tips with me.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jamie. And thank you for giving your time for today. And
Of course.
I hope to see you in our session soon. Okay.
See you soon, Shinazam. Bye.